Hi, Aquarius. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for September 2019. For you, Aquarius, the month begins with a feeling of depth and intensity due to a grouping of planets being placed in Virgo in your eighth house. And then over the course of the month, that shifts to a feeling of expansiveness and openness as those planets move into Libra, which is your ninth house. Julia, what's the news about Mercury this month for Aquarius?
Well, all right. Hey, Aquarius. So I'm going to be talking about Mercury, which is the planet of communication, mentation. It helps you sort of strategize and think ahead of things. So Mercury for you is going to start in your eighth house this month. In the eighth house, that means that you might be thinking about your intimacy needs more. And there may be some very deep and heavy conversations that go on, but they should go rather smoothly because Mercury is actually moving pretty fast now. And these discussions may actually end up supporting your relationship in a way. The eighth house is also about shared resources too, which can give you more security in life. And we're also having an epiphany day in this house, which happens on the 2nd of September. And that's when Mercury is moving its fastest. So that's kind of like Epiphany Day is sort of like the opposite of Mercury retrograde. It is actually a great time for signing contracts now, especially any which might have to do with shared resources like money. And the eighth house also has a lot to do with research too. So if you're researching anything at all, whether it's for work or whether it's for school, then that Epiphany Day on the 2nd could be a great time for making connections and having a little revelation. Then Mercury moves into your ninth house on the 14th. And the ninth house is a very, very expansive house. So you could be engaging in more sort of mind opening conversations with people. And it's a really great time for learning anything which can kind of broaden your perspective in life. So, metaphysical stuff, philosophical, even worldly discussions. And I think Natha's got some things for us in terms of Venus and Mars this month, too.
Yeah, let's talk about Mars. So, Mars is going to be in the sign of Virgo all month, and it's going to be in your eighth house. And so, to kind of piggyback on some of the stuff that Julia was saying, is that, Mars in Virgo, first of all, is going to have you feeling far more determined than maybe you usually are to take care of responsibilities. And you may find that you're feeling some internal pressure to do things perfectly. So, watch for that. But having Mars in the eighth house is also a really great time to do some work around some eighth house things. So, like taxes. So, I know that's not the most exciting thing, but Virgo is really good at putting those to the grindstone and getting some work done. So, maybe you want to organize your first through third quarter taxes this month. It's also a really good time to get wills or paperwork, that kind of stuff in order, anything that is inheritance related, because that's also eighth house stuff. And you'll actually have a boost of energy similar to the greater epiphany day that Julia just mentioned. We have a heroic epiphany day, which is when Mars and the sun come into connection. So you will get an extra burst of energy and initiative and really support to get some of these done. So maybe on September 3rd, which is when Heroic Epiphany Day is, would be a good day to kind of sit down in your office and just lay out some of the tasks that you'd like to accomplish. And I know that's not super exciting, but I think that you'll really appreciate yourself for it. And we do have some exciting stuff too, because Venus is going to be in your eighth house for the first half of the month. And as Jamie said, that is good for sexy time. It's a very passionate and intimate placement for your Venus. And it might be fun to kind of get experimental with your partner or with somebody that's brand new to you. And then Venus is going to move into the sign of Libra and your ninth house on September 14th. And that will be a really good time to meet interesting people while you're traveling maybe, or you don't even have to literally go on a trip. You can travel around your city and just try to broaden your horizons, go do things that you've never done before. And if you're willing to do that and you're single, be on the lookout for exciting people. And if you are partnered with somebody, then, maybe you'll take your partner with you. You guys can have some fun. I think that's it. So I know Jamie has more. Jamie.
Well, there are a couple of moons coming this month. There's a harvest moon on the 13th, and you can see that right here. Here's the sun opposite the moon in the sky, because that's what a full moon is. It's an opposition between the sun and the moon. And with the sun is Mars up here in Virgo in the 8th house, and then opposite them is Neptune with the moon. So there's a very big push and pull going on here between a side that wants to be in action, wants to be taking responsibility, wants to do, busy, 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 and another side that's just so much more dreamy and self-reflective and wants to go and live in a more simple way, really. Here's the second house that they're occupying for you, Aquarius. So in the middle of this month, which should probably have a lot of activity because Mercury and Mars having their epiphany days, that's going to really make us want to get busy and clean up and tidy and condo the heck out of things. And then in the middle of it, this beautiful harvest moon, a respite, an oasis, a time of rest and relaxation that can balance all of that busyness. A little bit later in the month, we have Saturn turning direct, and you can see right here it is hiding out in your 12th house, and it is retrograde. We know that because of this tiny little red RX symbol next to it. And as we move it through the month, when we get to about the 18th, we can see that that little RX goes away, so that Saturn, which is still fairly stationary in the sky, has turned direct. Now, Saturn reminds us of our responsibilities, and when Saturn has been retrograde like this for several months, there's probably been quite a bit of self-reflection going on, or perhaps circumstances have been demanding that kind of self-reflection. This is in your 12th house, which is a little hidden away pocket that, where you keep stuff that you don't really want to look at every day. It's kind of a shadow area, kind of an unconscious area. So when Saturn is passing along through your 12th house, as really it is for several years, it's really the best time and an important time to take responsibility for things that may even seem like they live deeper within you than you can even really control. And I know that sounds like a really tall order, and certainly it is, but Aquarius, I think you're up for it. So Saturn will be moving direct. That will ease the pressure of that somewhat, give you some forward motion, give you some traction in that area. And then Saturn will soon be moving into your sign, so that will be that will bring quite a bit of self-discipline to all those crazy ideas that you tend to get. The next thing I want to show you is that on the 21st, just a couple of days further on, Jupiter and Neptune are making their final pass in square this year. Now, these two have been traveling in square for most of the year, and they've met in several passes covering a span of degrees from 14 to 18 degrees of mutable signs. So, Aquarius, if you have anything in your chart at all between 14 and 18 degrees of the mutable signs, meaning Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius, or Virgo, well, then you've really been feeling this. I've been calling this transit mass delusion. We've got another video about it if you want to check that out. And it really has been a time when people have been entertaining ideas that maybe are not so rational, not so grounded, and maybe getting a little carried away with those ideas. So it's a big time for zealotry and that sort of, not so rational thinking. But it's going to finish. This is where it ends, right here in September. And as the rest of the year comes forward and we finish out the year, I think that vibe is going to pass. And I don't know about you, but that feels like a relief to me. Okay, the last thing I want to tell you about is a beautiful new moon happening in Libra, and that is coming up on September 28th. And that will fall in your 9th house of travel, growth, expansion, and the exotic. They used to call it the house of long journeys over water. And so new moons signify beginnings. And Libra also signifies relationships. So you kind of put all those themes together, and this could be a time for planting seeds for better relations in a space of tolerance and understanding of differences. So really bridging gaps between people who maybe come from cultural backgrounds that don't quite get each other. And you, Aquarius, could be in the middle of all of that, helping, in your humanitarian way, right? Helping these things go forward. So that could feel pretty nice. And I think that that's pretty much all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And you can look for next month's horoscope coming up in our YouTube playlists that we're making for you every month, and plenty more news coming down the pike. And we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye bye.
Bye.